Welcome to Techmark Pod, where we innovate, discuss, and discover the dynamic intersection of technology and marketing. In each episode, we explore how businesses can leverage both to drive growth and innovation. Meet Alvin, our esteemed host for Techmark Pod. With over 15 years of experience as a renowned marketer, project manager, and software as a service architect. Join us as we uncover the unique value proposition of integrating technology and marketing strategies, helping you stay ahead in this fast-paced digital world.
Hi everyone, welcome to Techmark Pod. So today my guest is Mushambi Mutuma. So right here I'm holding his book. This is quite an interesting book, and very few of us have books that are on the shelf and are selling. This book, Tech Adjacent, I actually asked him, please come with that book because I really need to purchase this book, right? Because it's something that has motivated me as a fellow Black person and a fellow young entrepreneur to want to read this book. And I believe that there's a lot of lessons learned from business success from this book. And yeah, I think you need to stay tuned and listen to more of how Mushambi has experienced in his business and the future of tech and AI and marketing. You don't want to miss this episode. Mushambi, welcome to Techmark Pod. Thank you for agreeing to join me on this podcast. I think we have a lot to talk about tech and marketing.
Yes.
I think let's start. You introduce yourself to the audience. You
Okay,
can go
great.
ahead.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah.
It's a real pleasure to be here, and kudos to this platform
Thank you,
and
sir.
to the business. Yeah, man, just to give a quick summary to who I am. I'm Mushambi Mutuma, originally from Zim. I grew up there, and I've been in South Africa almost 2 decades now, by way of 17 years in the US. And I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm an entrepreneur focused on tech, a father, a husband, but just someone who's really passionate about leveling people up with tech, with innovation, with new ways of thinking. And that's the message that I constantly try to spread.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And I just want to know, because
Yeah.
now you're like I don't want to say a tech, I don't know what word can I use. I'm just selecting my words carefully.
Yes.
But you are a leader, understand? You're a thought leader, basically,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we want to know the history
Yeah.
of how did you come to this stage where you are right now?
Yeah.
Because every time I go to LinkedIn, I'm listening to your videos and I'm
Yes.
watching you. The knowledge that you have, that you impact on people every day, even when you do a speech or when you do your talks, it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's out of
Thank you.
this world.
Thank you.
So where did this start?
Yeah, that means a lot, man. Thank you. So I really have to give a lot of credit to my parents, particularly my father. So back when we were still in Zim in the 80s, my dad worked for ICL. And we were talking about that a bit before.
Yeah.
And he was based in Zim and across Africa and in the UK. So my father's always been kind of in tech and in sales. He's a much better speaker than I am.
We need to book him up.
And my grandfather was even better before
Wow.
him. But my son's got high standards to look up to him. But my dad, when we first moved to the US, struggled a bit, as one does when you move into a new environment in the 90s. In 1919 specifically. After a few years, he got a bit settled and kind of established. It's funny as an immigrant when you can be in high standing and then you go back and start over again, and then it takes a while to build back up. But in 96 in particular, he started working at Apple Computer at the time, which was a very interesting time. They were going through a big shift. Steve had been pushed out and he was coming back in. And so that's where my dad was. And I think that time period of growing up at Apple in such a transformational phase for them really showed my love for business and my love for technology. My dad used to bring home so many different computers and tablets and devices that Apple was working on and testing. And that was my childhood, to get to play with computers and iPads and Newtons.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, this is the physical products of Apple.
Yeah.
I remember, I think in the 90s when they had a transparent monitor.
Yes.
Those are the time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That was the G4 Mac that had that transparent one. Yeah.
I just saw that on TV. At least you saw it in real life.
No, man, it was quite cool, man. I remember one of my favorites was a tablet, actually. It was called a Newton. And it had the little writing pen.
Yeah.
And I used to take that to school to take a couple notes. Yeah, man, it was so, I think just getting to play with all these things growing up was not only incredibly fun, but I think that's what really cemented my love for tech. And then I shifted a little bit and got a little bit of an activist. So when I went away to university, I studied politics. I studied political science and law, and I thought that
was that a university in America?
Yes, it was. Yeah. So it was in Los Angeles and California. And yeah, I thought I was going to come back and become president in Zim. Who knows? And that was kind of the focus then. And then I worked for a few years, and shortly after graduating, I think 2008 is when I moved to South Africa. Did a lot of traveling, did a lot of work across Asia, across Africa. And then in 2010, this voice in the back of my head was like, you need to get out and do something a bit more. And I was working in public health at the time, and both of my parents are entrepreneurs, my mother especially. And so I think there was this voice that there's another path that you need to follow. And so that's when we started my primary first business, a business called Altivex, which was a digital product studio, did a lot of product dev, did a lot of app development, websites, marketing, strategy work. But when we first started, it was just 4 friends around a coffee table. And really, I think that's what cemented me into the tech space in terms of being part of a team and leading a team that builds the actual tech. And yeah, man, we had a lot of fun and built that business up quite rapidly over the next 10 years. Yeah. And yeah, man, had a good run. Really proud of that business and the team that we're able to build and the work that we're able to do for leading banks, leading retailers, organizations across South Africa, across the continent, across Africa. And then we exited that business in 2020, kind of before COVID. Sold part of the business and shut down another part. And yeah, that was kind of the transition.
As I'm listening to you, I'm realizing that you have actually grown up within the transition of technology, the revolution of technology.
Yes.
Right, from the years to the 2000s when possibly social media was booming and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You mentioned the Apple Pod. Did you meet Steve Jobs?
I did, yeah, to take it back, man. Yeah. So in 1998, 99, I believe it was, I was at the WWDC conference, which is Apple's kind of main conference where they announce big products and so forth. I used to travel every year with my dad to those, which is a great part of growing up. And I was probably the only kid in this huge conference center in New York. And my dad kind of pushed me to the front of the room after the talk when they were announcing the new iMac and the different flavors. And I got to meet Steve and shake his hand, and then I burst out crying.
Man.
Yeah, man, I think a little bit overwhelmed. Not as gangster as I used to be, or I am now maybe, but still rocking all black. So yeah, man, it was a cool experience.
Wow, that's amazing cool stuff. So this actually builds who is Mushambi.
Yes.
Your experience, your experience as a child, being exposed to tech, ICL, PO. I mean, you lived when you actually experienced that connectivity, that internet dial-up connectivity, went to 3G to 4G to LTE to fiber. You've lived it all. You know, it's a testimony of who is Mushambi today and how you then become a thought leader in this space, basically. For sure. And then you went on to write this book.
Yeah.
Which is tech adjacent.
Yes.
Let's talk about tech adjacent.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. But I think to maybe give the gray hairs context to what you just said, I think that I'm super lucky about my generation because we grew up kind of without the internet, into the internet, all the way to where we are now.
True.
And I think the best of all of those worlds.
You can say that again.
To be very honest with you. So I'm quite thankful for it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate kind of the maturity and the gray that's come up. But yeah, man.
My gray hair is still
in still early days.
No, it's not yet.
Hey, man, it comes with the school fees and bills to pay.
Yeah,
man. But the book, man. So really, initially, I wrote this book for myself.
Okay.
So I had been speaking for a few years on innovation, on technology, and I was struggling with how do I make this simple for a lot of people and less intimidating, because I think technology is very scary for a lot of people. And so initially, this book was born out of my own research. I was like, how do we identify tech? How do we define it? What's the relationship we need to have? So the premise of the book was technology is moving too fast to keep up with it. It's impossible. Even then, when I wrote this, especially now today, it's much worse. As we're sitting here having this conversation, new announcements are probably being made OpenAI is launching a new version of who knows what.
It's just too much.
It's a lot. So you can't keep up with it. But at the same time, you can't put your head in the sand and ignore it. It's not an option. So what do? We need to be close to tech. We need to have close proximity to it. We need to be adjacent to it. And so the book was, how do we understand how technology works and moves? What's happening in tech? How do we predict where it's going? And then a big part was also, how do we tell stories that we can relate to? I really, though I loved growing up at Apple and in the US, I really didn't like getting on stage and telling examples of Silicon Valley or Singapore or Tel Aviv. I wanted to say, like, no, man, my examples, the stories that I tell must be the Wakanda-like stories that we have here in Africa. And so all the case studies, all the examples that I used in the book are African. And that was the story I really wanted to tell. It applies to the market. It does. But also, not only does it apply to the market and to the reader, anyone that picks it up must understand that we've got world-leading and world-dominating tech here on the continent. It's not that everywhere else is light years ahead of us. Actually, we're leapfrogging, and even more in the last few years, faster than anybody else. So if you want that Wakanda tech, this is where you come. It's not Silicon Valley. It's not Tel Aviv. So that's super important to tell that story. And I mean, we were talking off camera about the beauty of being in South Africa. And I couldn't imagine, despite living and traveling all over the world, I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. We're in one of the most beautiful places and amazing places for growth compared to Europe, compared to the US, compared to Asia. So we're in the right place. And I think I'm super passionate about telling people
we are in the right place. The short left is, when you talk about the right place, you mentioned how Strive Massiwa is going to be building the first AI
super factory.
So I don't know if that is in conjunction with the one that is down the road, but maybe it's building something from scratch.
It's even bigger. So the one that they have now is they've got a massive data center. But the evolution of what they're envisioning for this new AI super factory is essentially a data center on steroids. So taking the chips and the processing power directly from NVIDIA and localizing that. Because right now there's a massive data center in Morocco that exists, but the rest are primarily in Europe and the US. So all of our cloud storage from AWS to Google, that all sits offshore. And so the ability and the dream to bring that and localize that gives us those resources and that computing power here at home, built by us, for us, and with us.
So I would like to think you're an advocate for an African story.
100%.
That has to do with, we need to keep our data and be able to build our own AI engines here in South Africa.
That's here across Africa, anywhere in Africa, right? And so the more strives that we have that are investing, the better. And that's what I think is an amazing dream that he has. And I hope that it comes to realization. But I think more and more people are going to get behind that, because for us to scale and grow, we're going to need more of those solutions. We can't rely on the rest of the world, essentially.
So while we are talking about that, if a business owner, a small to medium enterprise owner, they want to know, what is the importance of all this tech that we're talking about? It almost sounds like Greek to them. At the moment, we're talking about this super data center and we'll do all these things, but they don't understand the importance of that to their business. So are you able to then maybe explain what does this mean to a business owner?
So I think the very first thing is we have to understand, what is tech's role in our life? Technology's role is to make your life easier, better, and faster. Pure and simple. It's supposed to make your job easier. It's supposed to make things move faster, and it's supposed to make things cheaper for you, right? And if you understand that, then we can say, okay, where to now? Right? And whether it's AI, whether it's chatbots, whatever we were talking before about AI agents, right? All of these tools that exist, they're here primarily for you to grow easier, faster, and better. That's it. And so if you understand that, you take away the fear of tech you might have, of this thing that's going to replace me. No, it's a tool that I use to make my life better. Full stop. You don't have to complicate it anymore beyond that. But then it's like, okay, so what's my job? You happen to have a digital marketing agency, right? So as a digital marketer, how do I use technology to make my life easier, faster, better? Right. Well, the first thing is we're going to edit this entire podcast
Yeah,
using
definitely.
AI.
It's using
right?
AI,
Versus
definitely.
a manual edit that would have
Yeah.
taken us weeks to do.
Yeah.
You guys can get this episode uploaded tonight or in an hour after we're done, right?
Definitely.
Just by hitting submit, and all the camera angles and shots and subtitles are going to be perfectly placed, right? With just a few tweaks. That's making life easier, better, and faster, to free you up to do more things, to have 10 conversations recorded today versus one a week, or to think about new ideas. If you can use AI to help you deploy a big campaign, so you can come up with the creative concept and say, roll this out on TikTok, roll this out on Instagram, roll this out on LinkedIn with different nuance and audiences and different things. Boom. And now with the latest technology from a graphic design standpoint, it's like, hey man, help me conceptualize these new images and campaigns. So it's not to replace all the people before, it's to equip you to do all these things even better. So now that if I'm a marketer and I have all these tools available, if you compare me to a marketer who doesn't have those tools, and we sit side by side, right?
Very
and you
different.
say, go. I'm going to take the guy that's using all the tools, that's moving at speed, versus the guy that's still doing things in a traditional way. And that's tech, right? That's what all these things are enabling. It's like this enhanced version of yourself or this old version of yourself. I'm going to take this version.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want to talk about AI agents. When I talk about the future of AI and the best case use scenarios of AI agents in any business. Yeah. I remember watching your video and you spoke about AI agents, and I think I've explained to you how I thought maybe they can assist me in business.
Yes.
I think I'll let you talk more about it because you have a better understanding of that.
For sure. So I think that the simplest way to put it is that you can use ChatGPT and inject it with a little bit of steroids to build out these tools and these personas. And that's what different brands and entrepreneurs are doing. So if I think of myself as an author and a speaker, I can build out an AI agent that's just for an admin, to help me plan logistics, my travel, the hotels I stay in, the different cities that I'm going, my itinerary, how to hit 3 cities and 4 speaking gigs in the same week in an efficient manner, and ask it to help me plan all of that instead of me sitting on booking.com trying to do all that myself. So that's admin that's sorted, right? From a content and a marketing standpoint, I can have AI trained on my book, trained on my previous content, understanding my tonality, to help me think of campaigns and different scripts, or, hey, I've got this idea, I need some research, I need some information to back it, help me there. Yeah. Right? I can use it to help me think of new questions. So I use AI a lot to say, hey, help me think about this particular subject in a different manner, right? This last week, I was thinking about tariffs and the impact of tariffs. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I was trying to educate myself to say, okay, cool. When this happens and this happens to China and this happens to the US, what's the trickle down effect to us? Yeah. So I use that AI agent for learning, right? And expanding thinking. So essentially, you're using all of these tools to have a team of expertise. Right? An output. Instead of me now having to hire 5 people to do all that for me, I've got these tools that now exist that make my admin burden, my research burden, my ideation burden, my learning burden a much easier journey. And it's all right here on my phone. That's a powerful experience, right? Or when I walk into businesses from a consulting standpoint and I want to learn more about them and what they offer and what they're doing, I've got this tool that sits right here that helps me think of things in a different manner. That after I come back, it takes the recording of that meeting and says, hey, you should have thought about 1, 2, and 3 as well. The meeting, right? Boom. And again, all of this is, think of Mushambi without these tools and these agents, and Mushambi with them. I can't compare. That guy's never going to win against me.
Interesting. So there's something interesting that I want to talk about, the tech, right? So you talk about tech, and then I'm thinking, what is your take on marketing? While the tech is moving so fast.
Yeah, for sure.
And then where is marketing in this whole process?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
see your books in tech adjacent. I want to add tech adjacent to marketing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but maybe that's your next title.
No, for sure. Well, the next one's coming in August, hopefully. It's a little bit different, but we'll talk about that. So I think for me, from a marketing standpoint, also marketing intrinsically is about telling amazing stories, right? Marketing is not just content. Marketing is not just social media. Marketing is not just like beautiful logos. It's telling stories for growth. There's so many tools that it can allow you to do so, right? For social media, for email marketing, for CRM and client communication, for big campaigns. And I mean, who knows how many billboards I drove past here, driving here this morning, right? So there's so many tools that it can allow you to ideate faster, to dream bigger, to roll out your concept bigger, and now to come up with live images and videos, compiling images together, right? And dreaming up campaigns where before you would have to brief that into studio, into traffic, into a team of designers and a creative director, and then have multiple reverts. And now I can take a creative person, still the same resource, and use them to prompt better and faster and more efficiently with more specificity than I would have to dream up the same campaigns and to roll out, okay, we're going to do this, but now give me 30 more content pieces just like that.
So tech is the enabler.
It is, man. And it's just about scale. And so I know there's a lot of arguments about, are we losing creativity? Are we getting lazy? Or are we replacing people? And I think that the thing we have to hold on to first is how do the people that might be replaced use these tools? So if I'm a designer, and how many designers hate using Canva, right? Versus Photoshop.
Don't talk about that.
My wife is one of them. All right.
Okay.
But if you think about it, it's like a new tool that helps us use faster. Yes. I'm sure that the designers that existed before Photoshop were not happy when Photoshop was created.
Oh, those are created, yeah.
All right. And so the thing is okay, cool. How do we continue to evolve our craft and our art using the latest tools? Not to replace us, but imagine if you took all of that creative insight and thinking and inputted that into these tools to say,
definitely
think about things a little bit differently and more enhanced. That's a massive opportunity. Because the alternative is to ignore it and then get left behind.
So I was telling the team the other day, and my thoughts around the way technology is moving is you're not going to be replaced, but you need to be more intelligent for you to survive. Because
and remember, clients now have the expectation that you're going to use the latest tools.
Yes.
Right? Clients will tell you that I want you to use the tools to make you the fastest and the most efficient, the cheapest. Right? And so even now, as a service, not a service provider, but a service hirer, when I think about hiring people, I'm like, no, man, I expect you to use AI when you and I speak. I expected you to use AI to do some research. I expect you to do AI to launch this on multiple platforms. I expect you to use it to make things faster for me. And it shouldn't take you weeks to respond to me. You should be able to have something that makes you faster and more efficient. And I think that's happening at every level, not just me, but at a corporate level. Clients are like, okay, a question on our tick box as we decide to procure your services is how are you using the latest tools to serve me better? Wow. And you have to have an answer.
That's true.
And if you don't, that's going to be a minus for you. So will you still exist? Will you still have a business? Yes. But again, you're compared to the person that's using the best. I think that it's a massive opportunity that we can't afford to leave behind or ignore.
Wow. Yeah. That's correct. Because I'm really thinking about the future and how the jobs are going to change. So I've got a concept in my head to say that there's not going to be titles because if you look at it, the way that technology is moving fast. So you spoke about being able to have 5 AI agents. So if you have a human being that's going to monitor your AI agents, that person is not going to be called your administrator or your salesperson or whatever it is. Sure. This is someone with 5 different titles, but you'll be able to have a team players around him, which are these AI agents, So I've always told people that you can't then think the old way and expect different results.
Yes, for
You're going to have to be agile and think, how then are you going to survive?
It's a very good point. And I mean, I would argue that one of the biggest business trends that's coming is the replacement of job titles, right? As we might have seniority levels, but job titles, they should fall away because the expectation is that you should be able to do several things and not just one thing. And so it's like, how do we train people up to expand their minds? I have to be more than just a good bookkeeper. Otherwise, something will replace me.
Definitely.
Right?
That's
so maybe I need to be more of an advisor. And that's really the role of accounting and bookkeeping is advising, not just counting numbers. And so I think that scales to all kinds of employees. And you're 100% right.
Wow. Yeah. And what do you think of products versus services with the I mean, with the rate at which technology is moving.
Yeah.
So my concept is to say probably services are going to be extinct and more of products. So for example, if you
Yes.
go and say, I'm a digital marketing agency, but if you say that I've got this tech that's going to help
Yes.
you to exponentially
deploy
grow
these
your
things.
business,
Yeah.
which is a different language.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
remember, if you've got access to Facebook as a business owner,
Yeah.
and as an agent I've got access to Facebook, and what does Facebook do now?
Yeah.
They now have like a pop-up that says, are you struggling with your marketing?
Yeah.
Let me help you quickly.
Yeah, for sure. That's it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how then do we survive as
Yeah.
digital marketing agents in the future?
Yeah, no, it is a challenge. And I think that, just from a pure business level and the commercial level, shifting into a more productized space always makes more sense.
Yeah.
But I think a level of service will always remain.
Yeah,
always
definitely
exist. And that will never, no matter how advanced we get, that will never completely replace. But I think you have to think about how do we package things for scale, right? Instead of me taking 8 hours to do this and take a custom thing every single time and try to repeat that. Like, for instance, what I do keynoting is not a scalable service. I've got a finite amount of hours in the day. I've got a restricted range of how far I can travel in 24 hours, right? It's not a scalable business. Like, I can only do so many speaking events, right?
Yeah.
I think the ROI is good, to be frank. Yeah. But if I was trying to build this at scale, I would have to launch different products, a book, a podcast, digital tools that you can download, toolkits and the like, right? Online courses of some of my book content.
Yeah.
That's a way to scale it and productize it more than just relying on me getting on a plane and flying to this city and this city and this city. Exactly. So I think that we always have to have that in the back of our mind of how we think about scale efficiently. But I wouldn't say that service provision is going to be fully replaced.
That's what you do exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the speaking business.
Yes.
Because you have done a lot of these engagements.
Yeah.
But I want to know which one was your best. Because at the moment, if we tell our viewers, they need to know you are available for speaking.
Yes, thank you.
So they need to book you for speaking engagements.
Yes.
So which one was your best from all the...
It's the last one is always the best one. The
last one was the best one.
The last one's always the best one, man. No, so I've been doing this probably for 10 years. Yeah. And I think that, man, I'm really now getting into my flow, into my craft. And I'm
Are you
really
getting better like a bottle of wine?
I think so, man. And I hope so. I hope so for my clients. But yeah, man, I really speak a lot about the future of work and where, work is going and these trends that are happening. I speak a lot about AI, but the main thing I speak about is how do you take your literal DNA as a leader, as a manager, as an employee, and shift it to be ready for whatever's coming next. Right. And so that's what I talk about. And a lot of stages, man, from expos to conferences to corporate sessions. And I'm really enjoying it and being able to spread that message of trying to simplify tech.
Can we touch a little bit about that?
Yeah, please. Definitely.
Let's
go
ahead with that. Yeah. So you spoke about the leader, how they change their DNA.
Yeah. So my new book.
We're getting in the new
book. My new book.
Yeah.
So my new book is called The Adaptability Code. And really the premise behind that book, I just need to hit submit and finish to my publisher. I'm running a few weeks behind. But the premise is your main indicator for future success is not going to be technology. It's not going to be whether you use AI or not. It's not going to be whether you deploy the latest and greatest tools. It's going to be measured on how adaptable you are, right? Your ability to continue to change and transform to the circumstances around you. Because remember what we said, and even built off tech adjacent, tech is moving faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
So if your premise is that we must just keep using the latest and greatest and latest and greatest, you're going to spend your days like running around trying to figure out the latest tools. But if you want to be ready for the latest disruption, you need to be adaptable. You need to be moldable. You need to be flexible. You need to have resilience. You need to have curiosity. You need to have care and empathy for your employees. If you embed these kind of characteristics in your adaptability, no matter where the world goes, you'll be ready. I don't know if you've got kids, but I've got 2.
I got 3.
You got 3.
The third one came in November.
Nice one. Yeah. Congrats. I'm done at 2. But if you think about training them, right? A couple of years ago, we used to tell kids to learn how to code. Right?
Yeah.
And that was the new thing. Like, teach them how to code. Yeah. Now it's like, let them prompt. But my biggest thing is like, how do I embed in my 9-year-old and my 7-year-old the ability to be curious, the ability to keep getting back up and trying new things? If they learn that, not just the latest coding languages, no matter where the world goes, because who knows what it's going to look like in 20 years, right? For them, they'll be ready. And that's rooted in adaptability. So that's the message, and that's the new DNA that I try to teach people, is this DNA of constant shift.
So I want to go back again to the kids. You talk about the kids, right? I'm a father and I enjoy that very much. Amazing. So I've realized that our kids, they've become more intelligent because of access of information that we didn't have back then. And they're just brilliant. You know what I mean? So if you're saying a couple of years ago, we had coding like trends for the kids. What is it now? What are they supposed to learn? What are they supposed to understand and know?
I think now is how to access information.
Okay.
Right? That's what we must teach them. Gone are the days, and I'd hate to be a teacher or a college professor right now. Because gone are the days where you are the most intelligent person in the room, right? To be very frank.
Definitely.
So if that's what you're trying to do, to say, I learned all these concepts 20 years ago and I'm here to teach them to you, you're dated now more than ever. So what we need to teach our kids is not all these different skill sets, but how to continue to access new information. So when my kids ask me, how do I do this? Or do you know about this? I'm like, I know some things, but let's ask chat, or let's go on the computer and check it out. And then let's monitor them clicking around and trying new things. I mean, yesterday they woke up and they wanted to learn about the solar system because they wanted to paint the different planets. And so they went and they spent like an hour online learning about the different planets and why they're different colors and why this one has more rings and moons than the other. And then they went and painted and had a good time. I wasn't going to be the best person to teach them. 30 years plus removed of how many planets we even have anymore. So I think that's the thing, is like, I want to embed in them the idea of curiosity and always learning. And that's the main skill that I want to embed. And then they will always be equipped for whatever's coming. Versus, let me teach you this specific thing, knowing that in 5 years, 2 years, or 1 year, it's probably actually not going to be the main thing anymore. You know? So we teach them how do you write a better prompt. You know, how do you ask ChatGPT a better way to answer the same question? And they're doing that.
It's you know, I'm thinking as you're speaking about it, I'm thinking, okay, so what is it for them? I've tried to get them on coding. They said, we want to code. And I said, okay, try to code. We're fine now. And then one thing for sure, they love games.
Yeah, for sure. But then teach them how to make their own games using AI. Right?
Exactly.
And you maybe incentivize
do you know what interesting thing that unfortunately we're taking away from now daily talk. Right?
Yes.
So one interesting exercise that I did in December was for them to build this.
Yes. My kids have some of the same.
So I'm like, hold up.
Yes.
Let's take away some time from the screen.
Yes.
Let's come back to the basics. Let's build this. I mean, I think maybe it's me being scared at the rate at which technology is going. For sure. And then the kids are just stuck 24 hours on the screen 100%. Without knowing the basics of how these things happen. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I have to 100% agree with you. My kids have very limited screen time. They do not, because we encourage them. Tech is going to come and take over their lives anyways. The longer that I can keep them playing with things and exploring and curious with tangible things and playing outside, they might not be happy with me at the moment, but then they enjoy it. And so I agree. And I would encourage every parent, because I don't think that we fully understand the impact of devices on kids and their development. And it's why huge tech leaders.
So this is the side effects of tech.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know all of them yet. We don't, right? And if you ask Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos, and they'll tell you that they limit their kids' screen time. Right?
They do.
Because they know the impacts, right? They know that this thing is not 100% healthy. And so you have to reconsider that when you put a tablet in front of your kid for hours. And so we try to very much limit. I mean, they're on school holidays right now, so they might get an hour and a half, but it's limited.
Definitely. I think this is quite an interesting conversation, Mushambi. So when I watched some of your speaking engagements, you had this Italian tagline that you're like sharing with everyone. I mean, I wouldn't have done justice for you to come to Techmark Pod and you don't say it and explain to us what it means.
Yeah. I think I need a new one.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's a phrase that was coined by Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay.
Right. And he's arguably one of the greatest minds of all time. Like from scientist to mathematician to architect to painter, like literally. But he said the one key to his success was dimostrazione.
Dimostrazione.
Yeah, you gotta do this when you speak Italiano.
Yeah.
Right? But the premise is demonstration. So it's a literal translation to excellence is achieved by demonstrating and experimenting.
Yeah.
Right. So if arguably the greatest mind of all time said that the way that he got so successful was through demonstrating, was through experimentation, then we should do that too. And that's why we should let our kids do that.
Yeah.
Let them go out there and experiment and practice dimostrazione.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. And then let's talk about possibly the future of tech marketing in South Africa. And of course, we're going to talk about how then do people reach you? Are you still in the consulting business, or are you still just you're now just a speaker?
That's a good question.
I didn't get a
very good
but
question.
I'll let you clarify.
No,
so
definitely.
let's talk about the future of tech in South Africa. How do you see and what do you see what's going to happen in the future?
More growth is the simple answer, man. I think that more and more people are using the latest tools creatively for scale. More and more corporates are demanding it. So we're going to do a lot more. And I think that when we first spoke off camera, we were talking about the right place to be.
Yeah.
And I think
definitely.
that if I look around the world and then look at the talent that we have here, not only in South Africa, but across the continent, we've got some of the most talented people everywhere. And global corporates recognize that. They see it and they are looking to tap into it. So gone are the days where we're just these third world countries or we're less than. We are market leaders creatively, entrepreneurially, tech-wise. We've got the skills. But I think we have a lot of that imposter syndrome that maybe we're not good enough. But the bar is also very low.
That's the thing. Yeah.
The bar is low, but we're also excellent. And so for me, I love the transition that we're in because I think that true leapfrogs are going to happen. We've got the fastest growing economies in the world. Other places in the world are stagnating. They're plateauing. We're still growing. And so what's going to happen in the future for us is more growth. Because if you take all this rise in talent, you take all these youth that are looking for things to do, and you give them these tools, what can't they do? Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of access that we need to do and give people. We need to democratize access to these tools and to data and to devices. But more investments like Strive is doing is going to empower that. And so it's a long way to go. But I think that, again, you're not going to see the same level of growth that we're going to have in the next 5 to 10 years anywhere else in the world.
That's interesting. Wow. Let's move on to you as a person.
Yes.
What exactly are you doing at the moment and what services are you offering besides you being the speaker and the author?
So, I mean, right now, this is the primary focus. I'm trying to get this new book out and hopefully we'll be on shelves in August. I am doing a lot of speaking locally and internationally. And so that's a primary thing. And then I do a lot of advisory work. So we do some business development. We do some tech advisory as well. So it really depends. But right now, my main hat is author, speaker, and husband.
That sounds like a full-time job.
Hey, you know what it is.
How can they reach you? Do they reach you on your website?
Yeah, so my website is www.mushambimutuma.com. On all social media platforms, primarily LinkedIn and Instagram at Mushambi Mutuma. And it's the best way to get at me.
Oh, no. That's great. Thank you for coming through. And this is now my copy. Yes. I'm excited. I'm not an avid reader. I need to be true to myself. Possibly I'm going to get an AI robot that will read to me and I'll be listening, but I'll try to read the book. Yes. You know what I mean? If people are looking for this book, where can they find it?
Exclusive books. Take a lot. Amazon.
Everywhere.
Okay. Got it everywhere.
You had it for yourself. You can find it everywhere. All right. I don't know if you have any ending final remarks or anything you want to say? But I'm grateful. I'm thankful for you coming to this podcast.
No, thank you for having me, man. I just want to again congratulate you on what you're building, both with this platform and with your business. It's inspiring to see a younger version of myself that is doing things even better. So yeah, man, kudos and thank you again for having me.
Awesome. More conversations. Another day we have more conversations. Yeah, I don't know where you hang out, but I'm gonna be your friend whether you like it or not.
I love it.
Anyway, thank you for joining us on this episode. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone who's watching, everyone who is engaging, tweeting, and sharing, and continue doing that. See you on the next episode.